Hey folks, everything new under the sun. This is not a repeat of the last video. A third object has been shot down over U.S. Canadian northern borders. U.S. and Canada military shoot down new unidentified object. Now, this is incredible to me that this is happening and that they have no details being provided to us, suggesting that they don't know what this is. Let's read the article a little bit, and I'll add a couple of comments. Another unidentified object has been shot down over North American airspace. Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau confirmed, and now he tweeted about this. The latest object violated Canadian airspace and was shot down over the northwest Canada in the Yukon. Both Canadian and U.S. Jets were scrambled and to track down the object, which Mr. Trudeau says was taken out by an F-22 fighter jet. So maybe another Sidewinder was launched to take this one out. Third object to be shot down over North America. The American military, of course, destroyed the Chinese weather balloon, but they're not saying these are weather balloons. Trudeau confirmed on Saturday he gave the order and had spoken to U.S. President Joe Biden about it. Here's a map of U.S. Alaska, Yukon there. Canadian forces will now recover and analyze the wreckage, he wrote on Twitter. The latest unspecified object was flying over central Yukon at about 40,000 feet, or 12,000 meters, and intercepted about 15:41 or 3:41 p.m. local time Saturday, Defense Minister Anita Anand told reporters. She described the object as small, cylindrical, but that recovery efforts are still being carried out. So similar to the last one. So I have to ask you, what is going on here? Now, people are making fun of me in the comments, one or two, I guess, that, what do you think this is? An alien, an actual alien UFO? And I'm saying I don't know what it is. The U.S. and Canadian government isn't giving me any information. I would not be surprised if there was some extraterrestrial ship. Not that it's aliens from another planet, but that it's demons in the last days sent to confuse and distract humans and to move them away from the Lord, because ultimately Satan wants to take as many people as he can with him and confuse and destroy as many people as he can. Now, a couple of questions I have is, what is this a distraction from? Why are these things being sent now? Why is this happening now? Is there some distraction by the military? And why aren't they telling us what it is? It's the year 2023. They have satellites, they have videos, they have the equivalent of GoPros and chest-mounted cameras on all these fighter jets. It's silly to think that they don't have absolute high resolution imagery, video from satellites and from the fighter jets that were tracking and trailing these things. So they have eyes on these. The fact that we haven't seen any images of this is, well, it's interesting to me, to be honest. And so they know something that they're not telling us. Why? Again, is it just a big psyop? Is there a distraction here? Look here, don't look over there. Is that what the problem is? Is something happening over in the Middle East or China, Russia, that we're not to be paying attention to? Why are all these floating in here? If it was just another Chinese weather balloon, why not just say just another Chinese weather balloon? If they wanted to make us all go back to sleep and not look up and not pay attention to anything, why not just say, look, it was another weather balloon? They know what it is. But they continue to call it small and cylindrical, which just adds more questions. Why are we hearing about a bunch of these now? Is it a coincidence that all these are happening in the last couple of days? And no details. No. Now, my speculation is that if this is a valid threat, if there's no particular psyop going on by Canadian U.S. governments, if there is no look here, look over there sorts of things going on, if this is a real threat to Canadian and U.S. airspace and aircraft, and a real threat to our sovereignty, the only thing that these things could realistically be, other than intelligence gathering, which in this day and age is done by satellites, you don't, and the internet, you don't have to float balloons or objects over nations now to record everything everybody is saying, because they just go to YouTube and hear what they're saying. They go over the internet, record everything on the internet. Everything's digital now, so there's absolutely no reason for this. If they want to see movement of military infrastructure, missiles, etc., they use their satellites. Russia has lots of satellites. There is no lack of intelligence from the sky here, so it doesn't make sense that it's that. The only thing that I think they may not have satellite deployment capabilities for is nuclear weapons or an EMP. I don't think yet that they have. There's a satellite up there with a nuclear weapon waiting to go. We may be there, maybe, but I think it's easier and much more cost-effective and probably more reliable to launch a nuclear attack from a submarine, from a land-based missile silo, etc. So what could this be? The only thing that would make sense to me in terms of a threat to our sovereignty would be that this would be something carrying an EMP. And apparently, these haven't exploded. There hasn't been any big nuclear explosions when they're taking these things out, which suggests either that they're built in such a way where they just get destroyed when they're taken out and they don't detonate. But I guess we'll know if they find traces of uranium or whatever nuclear element that they're looking for. But that would be the only thing that they might use these for. And maybe these are training exercises. Maybe these are dud aircraft, and they're just seeing how far they get into airspace before NORAD discovers them. Because that would be interesting for Russia, China to know. How quick does NORAD respond? How small does a device, an aircraft, whatever it may be, have to be to fly under the radar? How small does it have to be for NORAD to allow something to float over continental United States and Canada to get into a position where they could deploy an electromagnetic pulse? And in the technology era, that is the easy way. You don't have to fire a conventional weapon. You don't have to blow up buildings. You don't have to kill anybody. All you have to do is take out our infrastructure, our electrical infrastructure, our grid, take out some of our technology, maybe take out some of the military computers and technology. But really all you have to do is take down the grid, and the whole country, both countries, are sent back to the 1800s with no electricity, and there will be complete panic and anarchy and chaos and violence in the streets if people didn't have power and heating and food for more than a couple of days. So that would be catastrophic. That is the easiest way to destroy North America, the West, and I suspect they know it. They don't have to fire a weapon. An EMP is easy, so it makes sense that they're testing, practicing for an electromagnetic pulse. I suspect that these would not have that because, if they're just a trial running these things, they don't want Canada, U.S. to capture some device and be able to declare that they were of hostile intent. No, they would just send transport vehicles over with no weapons and see what the response was. And then when the time was right, if they found the right mode of transport where NORAD didn't respond quickly or effectively in such a manner, then they would use that and finally deliver an electromagnetic pulse. Now, maybe there's a lot better, more interesting, more convenient ways for them to deliver such a weapon, and that may be. But that's all I can think of at this time. That and the idea of what are they just trying to distract us from what is happening on the other side of the world, or in the governments of Canada and the United States. What is happening that we are not paying attention to because we're mesmerized by objects, cylindrical, silvery gray objects that are being shot out of the sky. This is Zero Hedge. The previous one was BBC. Third, high altitude airborne objects shot down. NORAD said earlier Saturday that it had identified high-altitude object after which Canadian and U.S. craft were scrambled. So same story. Bloomberg is reporting this. Here is Trudeau's tweet. I ordered the takedown of an unidentified object that violated Canadian airspace. NORAD shot it down over the Yukon. Again, same story. This is mainstream media news. This is all over the internet. So, I mean, if the mainstream media wants us to distract us from something, they've got our attention. This is all over now, and I don't know. It could also be that they're not. They don't want public panic, so they're keeping details secretive as to, are these of a military origin, because they would panic the markets and the citizens if they were to come out and say that's the case. But the lack of information is very, very curious here, folks. You need to be prepared. You need to get some communications in some EMP safe cans or whatever, at least to hedge bets against an EMP. Again, that would be the easiest and the cheapest way to take out the United States. So if they wanted to go to World War III and nuclear weapons flying, you know what? I would suggest to you that Russia wouldn't consider nuclear weapons. I would suggest they would consider an EMP well before any use of nuclear weapons, and maybe that's what these are pointing to. I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks for watching. Very curious. Pay attention. Things are getting crazy, and you have to say, what is going on there, but don't be distracted. Look at what is happening around the world too, because this could very well be a look here, don't look over there sort of situation.